I was going to demonstrate BumpTop for Tech Tuesdays and show how it's a wonderful new technology. But actually I found that it's just a bit of fun for reasons I'm going to explain. So BumpTop is a 3D desktop, which I want to show you now. And I was lucky enough to jump on the Mashable post about it and to be one of the first 100 to get a Pro subscription, which basically means that you get some of the additional features. And that's what I'm going to show you now. BumpTop Pro, which is $29.95 for 3 licenses, I believe. Here we go. So this is my usual desktop. This is how I usually have my MacBook Pro set up. I use 4 virtual desktops. I used to have more than that, but I found it was getting a bit too much. So I have my web browser at the top left. I have my music at the top right, and Skype sometimes as well, Last.fm, that type of thing. I then have at the bottom left TweetDeck for Twitter, and then at the bottom right I have pretty much everything else, so when I'm doing my file wrangling, anything like that. So let's just BumpTop and let's see what happens when you 3Dify your desktop. This is what happens. First of all, it takes quite a while to load up because it's using quite a lot of processor power, which is the first disadvantage, I would say. So when it finally loads up, what you get is you get kind of 3 walls surrounding your desktop, and you get your main desktop itself. I don't have very much on my desktop usually, which is actually quite a problem, because what it means is that I haven't got everything readily accessible. It's the same with my actual desk in real life. I don't have very much on my desk at all. If I want to create a note to myself, as some people like to do, then you can create a note using the new note feature to the top right. And I can drag that note anywhere I want. I can pin it onto one of the walls, I can leave it on my desktop, I can make a different size, etc. So I'm just going to make it slightly bigger there, just put it on the wall, and I can do what I want with it. I can make it smaller again, I can make it bigger, I can move it about the place, whatever. The nice thing about BumpTop is that when you move things around, they interact with each other, they crash into things, you can flick them across your desktop, all that type of stuff. And you can view these walls separately. You can put pictures on there, you can do whatever you want really. So I'm just going to show you can change the background. This is an image that I put on previously. It comes with a default BumpTop desktop usually. So it's just grey tiles. I got that from interfacelift.com, which is a good website for wallpaper. And if you want to use the same for all the walls, you can just do it like that, which just gives a pleasing 3D effect. So I need some files on my desktop. So I'm going to go to my Dropbox folder where I keep my documents. I'm just going to copy some across, so I've got some to deal with, so I can show you how BumpTop works. This isn't how I would usually work, so if you do have a lot of files on your desktop, you'll find it fantastic, and if you don't, then you'd have to change the way that you work, and I'm not actually prepared to do that at the moment. I'd have to be convinced about it. So while those files are copying across, I'm going to end up with some documents. I'm going to end up with some PDF files, all that type of thing, and you can see how they're just kind of being scattered across the desktop. That's the really nice 3D aspect. But I suppose because this is available for Windows and for Mac, if you didn't have a very powerful graphics card in your Mac or in your Windows PC, I can see how it would be slow actually, and so it is probably only one for if you've got spare processing cycles. So here we are. I've just selected sort by type or pile by type, and you can rename the different piles. So I'm going to rename this one. I'm just going to rename this one docs. I'm going to rename the one which is folders. I'm going to rename folders, and then I've got another one here. Well, that's the same as the other documents, so I can see what it is, and then I can just drag it into the docs panel. So I'm just going to do that now. Drag it in there. I've also got some PDFs, and I've just got some other stuff. Now if I don't want them there, I can move them around the desktop. And like I said before, when you drag them, you can flick them across the place and they bounce off the walls, and it's all very nice. And I can move them back to where I want. So there we are. I've got my piles of stuff. You can use all the different mouse gestures on a Mac to scroll through the pile, and they'll kind of come out as if you're pulling a folder out, which is quite nice. You can see what's in there. And then if you want to, you can break apart that pile, you can separate them out again, you can grab one and move it somewhere. So I'm going to move this one onto the wall. It might be one that I use regularly. I'm just going to drag that onto the wall, my infographics folder there. See what's inside it. I can grow it, make it bigger, make it smaller. have a few folders in there. I can have whatever I want on the wall. It's just I suppose it's a way of accessing stuff. So there we are, my infographics folder on that particular wall. And then I can just go back by double clicking at the bottom of the screen, and it'll take me back to there. And I can double click anywhere really. I can double click on the side walls and the top wall, and it'll take me there. So when I've done that, I can change. I can distribute the folders out again. I can change how I want them set out just by clicking on it and clicking break pile, and that will scatter the folders all over the place. And then I can have fun throwing them around the place and making them crash off the walls or moving them onto the screens or whatever. As I said, it's more a bit of a fun really. It's not really something I would use every day because I don't really work in a spatial I don't really use a spatial metaphor for my digital stuff. I work differently in a digital space than I do in a physical space. So it's making the digital physical in a way which is very innovative and works really kind of smoothly, but isn't really a metaphor which I would recognize and use particularly. So that's BumpTop, and when I quit, you can see that they're still on my desktop, so I have to get rid of them. Because I've copied these across, I can delete them all. But really, BumpTop at the moment is a bit of fun. I might keep playing about with it just to see if I do find it useful, but I don't like the way that I have to keep everything on my desktop. I like to have things a bit differently organized to that. But your mileage may vary, you might quite like that, but for me, BumpTop for the moment is a bit of fun.